is it that thou shouldest not vow? Then thou shouldest vow and not pay. You don't vow? You don't have no obligation. See the redundancy? So he's saying this over and over. Now this is a long time ago right here. You're talking about anywhere from 400 to 100 BC when this was written. That's a long time ago. And he was saying this way back then, and folk are still getting trapped with this today. He said, if you don't vow, there's no obligation. Spend your Thursdays and Fridays and Tuesdays and Saturdays and Sundays and Wednesdays how you want to spend them. If you don't vow, there's no obligation there. Acts. Yeah, because remember Ananias and Sapphira? That's your money. That's your land. You sold it. You can do with that money what you want. But don't be talking about this is what I'm going to do all publicly. And then you're going to hold back on something. Read what happened. Matter of fact, if you're going to read that Acts chapter 5, read 4 and 5.
While it remained, was it not your own? And after it was sold, was it not your own control?
Yep.
Why have you conceived this thing in your heart? You have not lied to men, but to God.
What happened?
Then, hearing these words, fell down and breathed his last. So great fear came upon all those who heard these things.
You know what? We saw that back with Nadab and Abihu, Aaron's sons in the priesthood, where folk used to just drop dead right on the spot. And so now we found ourselves to this dispensation of grace and said, okay, well, that kind of stuff don't happen no more. And so Ananias and Sapphira said, well, we can challenge this thing then. Because if we read on, further on, it ain't no real proof that Sapphira ever knew that Ananias was dead. Because when she came with the same stuff, same thing happened to her. But what God was saying is, that's your time. That's your talent. That's your treasure. If you don't vow it to me, you're not obligated to me. Amen. But once you do, you're responsible for it. Go ahead.
I so get what you're saying. I really, really do.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that, I understand. I'm not debating that. But on the flip side of that, then you have people who won't commit to anything because just in case something else comes up greater, or because they want to have their own time for them, or they just don't want to be obligated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you know what? I mean, he don't leave that out, because what happens is that just becomes a heart condition anyway, because what God has for us, he's called us all to a work. You see? He's called us all to a responsibility. And what happens is he will speak that to us. And if we don't vow that vow in which he's spoken to us, then that's on us too. Okay. Because see, that's where the obedience came in. Is more obedient. Because back in this day, folk didn't want to do what God wanted them to do, so they just offered up sacrifices. So God is saying, no, I'd rather you do what I've called you to do. So what he's saying in here, in this vowing, is he don't want us just arbitrarily, every time we just hear something going on, he don't want us just jumping saying, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. Filling our plate, speaking out of our emotions, speaking out of our whatever, pain or happiness, and attaching ourselves to something in the name of God and not fulfilling it. Because he goes on to say that I didn't make you vow, and if you didn't vow, you're not obligated. But in verse 6 he says, suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. neither say thou before the angel, and this angel is just the priest in that day, the pastor in this day, that it was an error. Wherefore should God be angry at thy voice and destroy the works of thy hand? If you're unready, there's some unreadiness in you. Don't vow, because in that same vein, we don't want God to be angry with us, because nothing beats God's wrath. If anybody going to be on our good side, we're going to want to keep God on our good side. He shows us this illustration in the 5th chapter of Matthew, back here again, dealing with this sermon on the Mount, I believe 37, Matthew 5, 37. What's this? Okay. He says, but let your communication, that's just the words that come out your mouth this time, that's regular communication. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. Y'all thought that came from Flip Wilson when he said the devil made me do it? God said the devil provoked you to just get up and show off and say all the stuff that you was going to do. Devil, it came from the devil. I ain't write this. But that's what it said. He says, but let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. And that means comes from the evil one. In other words, it's a lie. If what you say, you don't hold to it, he's saying it's a lie. And all lies comes from, in John 8, the father of lies. Comes from the devil himself. And so if we're not ready to vow that vow towards God, he said it's better that we just hold our tongue. And this last verse, I tell you, we was going to get out here early and on time here on today. It says, for in the multitude of dreams, this is a heavy one, and many words, there are also divers vanities, but fear thou God. Here is the writer driving this home, getting the point in through our heads that God will show us all kinds of great things. And as we aspire to move in some capacities, as other ministries have gone on before us that are doing what they're doing in the name of the Lord and are progressing in that way, and we desire to move to such a great level or plateau in ministry, a whole lot of ideas will come up and a whole lot of vows will be made of who's going to do what, who's going to say what, when and how. And God says all of those things are going to be his doing and his doing alone.